Carson Hocevar just said something that could either define the next era of NASCAR or completely backfire in spectacular fashion. Because the same driver many veterans once called a wreck waiting to happen now believes he can fight for a Cup Series championship. And honestly, the scary part for the rest of the garage is he might not be wrong. For years, Carson Hocevar was known more for chaos than consistency. Raw speed was never the question. The concern was whether he could survive long enough to use it. Aggressive moves, risky blocks, super speedway gambles. He drove like somebody trying to win every lap instead of every race. But suddenly, the conversation has changed. Now, people inside NASCAR aren't talking about whether Hocevar is talented. They're talking about how dangerous he becomes if he finally learns control. And based on what we've seen lately, that evolution may already be happening. Kevin Harvick recently revealed that when Hocevar was asked about winning a championship, the response was simple and confident. It wouldn't surprise them at all. That tells you everything about the mindset inside that team right now. This isn't some underdog organization hoping to steal a lucky win anymore. Spire Motorsports genuinely believes they're building a contender around Hocevar, and after Talladega, it's getting harder to laugh that off. Hocevar didn't just survive that race. He managed it like a veteran. He led laps, he handled multiple late restarts, he held off serious pressure at the end. And maybe the coldest moment of the entire race came over the radio before a critical restart when he reportedly said, "Winners choose front row." Then he backed it up immediately. That's not just confidence. The driver beginning to believe he belongs among NASCAR's elite. And this is where things get really interesting, because Hocevar's biggest problem was never speed. It was discipline. We've seen aggressive drivers flame out before. NASCAR history is full of guys who had incredible talent but destroyed equipment, burned bridges, and never figured out race management. That's why veterans kept warning about Hocevar earlier this year. Even Ryan Blaney basically hinted that if Carson ever learned where the limit actually is, he'd start winning races consistently. Well, now he's sitting inside the top 10 in points after 11 races. That's not an accident anymore. And strategically, this changes everything for Spire Motorsports. For years, Spire was viewed as a team trying to survive. Now they suddenly have a legitimate centerpiece driver who can outrun powerhouse organizations on pure pace. At tracks like Kansas and Las Vegas, Hocevar's speed metrics were already matching major teams. The problem was execution, bad restarts, loose wheels, missed opportunities late in races. That's actually the frightening part here. Results still haven't fully caught up to the speed. Usually when a young driver starts overachieving, eventually reality hits. But with Hocevar, there's an argument that the numbers should actually look better than they currently do. And if Spire cleans up the operational mistakes, now you're talking about a completely different level of threat. Especially because NASCAR's playoff format rewards momentum more than season-long perfection. You don't need to dominate all year to make a championship run anymore. You need speed at the right time, playoff confidence, and a driver willing to take risks under pressure. That last part, Hocevar might already be elite at it. The Dale Earnhardt comparisons are obviously dangerous territory because that's one of the biggest names in the sport's history, but you can absolutely see why some people bring it up. He races aggressively, so Christ, he pressures drivers into mistakes. And he's comfortable living inches away from disaster. The difference now is that he's finally starting to show restraint when it matters. That combination is terrifying because reckless aggression loses races. Calculated aggression wins championships. And right now, Hocevar looks like he's transitioning from the first category into the second. But there's still a major reality check here. Spire Motorsports is not Hendrick Motorsports. They're not Joe Gibbs Racing. They're not 23XI. Those organizations have deeper infrastructure, cleaner pit execution, better long-run consistency, and years of championship-level experience. That gap still matters. Even Hocevar admitted they've been right there at intermediate tracks, but keep missing by small margins. In NASCAR, small margins are everything. A slightly slow pit stop ruins track position. One bad restart destroys an entire race. One loose wheel can erase top 5 speed instantly. Championship teams eliminate those mistakes. Spire still hasn't proven they can do that consistently over an entire playoff run, and that's why the story is so fascinating, because the driver may already be ready before the organization fully is. Fans are split right down the middle on this. Some people love the swagger. They see a fearless young star bringing personality and aggression back into the sport. Others think he's still one mistake away from becoming the same over-aggressive driver critics warned about from the beginning. And honestly, both sides have valid arguments. NASCAR fans respect confidence when it's earned. but they also punish arrogance immediately if the results disappear. That's the pressure Hocevar now walks into every single weekend. Because once you publicly talk like a championship contender, expectations change permanently. Now let's talk future scenarios. Best case scenario, Hocevar keeps maturing at exactly this pace. Spire continues improving operationally. The team steals another win or two before the playoffs, gains confidence, and suddenly becomes one of those dangerous lower-seeded teams nobody wants to race against. At that point, NASCAR has a new superstar on its hands. Young, fearless, aggressive, marketing, and capable of creating chaos in championship races. That's huge for the sport, but the worst-case scenario is just as real. The aggression comes back at the wrong time. Bad playoff races pile up. Spire's lack of depth gets exposed under pressure, and suddenly this championship talk starts looking premature because making the playoffs is one thing. Surviving NASCAR's playoff pressure cooker is something completely different. Still, one thing is undeniable now. Carson Hocevar is no longer just a promising prospect. He's officially become a factor. And the scary part for the rest of the Cup Series is that he's only getting more confident. So now the big question is this. Do you believe Carson Hocevar is actually a future NASCAR Cup champion, or are we getting carried away after one breakout stretch? Drop your take in the comments, and if you enjoy smart NASCAR coverage without the recycled headlines, subscribe to SportsWire USA for more.